Good morning and welcome into the latest edition of the Hook 'em Hoops podcast brought to you by BetMGM and the Field of 68. I'm your host, Jason Conander. This is my co-host, Zach Davis. Tommy Yarish is swamped with NFL free agency. We get it. It's cool. Zach, you're like one of the biggest celebrities
Oh,
in the student journalism world, at least. How does it feel? How was your week in Greenville?
it was great. 16-hour drive. I mean, I can't thank Vic enough for the shout out for that. Like truly life-changing. Just what I've seen the past 24 hours on social media. But I also just want to say that like this, it's not just me. Like if someone else at the Daily Text was on the women's beat, they would have been there too. And it just goes to say, like, Jason, you were like a crucial member of TSM. Like there are so many people in TSM that would have done this. And yes, it's a blessing that the attention is going to Anna, Charlie, and I. But then again, it really should go to a lot of people at the Daily Text and a lot of people at Texas Student TV and a whole lot of people at TSM. So yeah, attention's been great. Happy to be here for this podcast. Hopefully we have some good things to say in the next one. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind 24, 36 hours.
Well, like I told you before this, it's very well deserved. You do bring up a good point about some of the people beforehand, like Manny Ramirez, one of our friends. He covered the women's team last year, went to the Final Four. So it is super cool, just the publicity that all student journalists at UT are getting now from that. And it's cool seeing you at the center of it. I have to ask one more question, though. How were the media seats? Where were you guys sitting for the games?
First game we were right behind the play-by-play people, like literally right behind them. And then the second game we were off to the left, right in front of the court on the far side of the bleachers on the Texas side on the right and then on the third day we were on the opposite side, right behind Craig Way. So I really couldn't have asked for a better 3-day seating.
That's great. I'm pretty sure that's how it is in Nashville too for the men's. I mean, I've never been. This is Texas's first year in the SEC, and that's what we're going to talk about today is the SEC tournament. Texas has their work cut out for them, which is a good thing for most teams. But when you've played the way that Texas has played the last couple of weeks, like what can we even expect at this point? So they start off against 12 seed Vanderbilt in the first round. They're 2.5 point underdogs. It's basically a push on a neutral court. Um, maybe they'll win that game. They look good for 25 minutes against Vanderbilt the last time they played them, also in Nashville. That's a matchup that I have some hope for. Like it's better than if they were to play Arkansas in the first round. And then they have Texas A&M in the second round if they make it there. And that's a really interesting spot for me, potentially having an NCAA tournament appearance on the line against your biggest rival, who you've already beat once this year. Um, could be the most fitting end to Texas's season, or it could be, Rodney Terry has another life in him and Texas wins, the first two games of the SEC tournament. And then they're probably positioned pretty well to make the NCAA tournament. I don't know. Zach, what do you think?
Well, I just want to say that the tournament being in Nashville is the perfect spot for this tournament because it doesn't really matter to Vanderbilt fans. They don't have a great home show out, so it's not really like, I just came back from Greenville, and that's an hour and a half away from South Carolina, but in the championship game, it was bleeding garnet red. So it's just this is the perfect location for it. The one in Greenville was great venue, but then again, in the women's championship, it was a home game for South Carolina. This is not a home game for Vanderbilt. So this is first of all, that's the first green light, right? It's gonna be it is a neutral court. And going back on that Vandy game, it was a game of runs. That was the most unbelievable. Like it was a very emotional game for me because I was like, okay, Texas locks us up. Vandy's back. Like I looked away for 2 minutes. Texas up by 9. Now Vanderbilt's ahead, and then Vanderbilt pulled out. But then again, this is a very good draw for Texas, getting Vanderbilt and then A&M and then Tennessee. I really think if you look around the entire bracket, there's not much else you can really ask for of the four teams in the next round. Ole Miss, Missouri, and Kentucky, you can make the case for Ole Miss or Missouri, but I want A&M. I want to play A&M. I want that
Hmm.
Texas A&M Texas rivalry, and to punch your ticket into the tournament. I mean, it's not a better look. And then Vandy, as far as the other teams go in the first round, I mean, besides LSU, I think Vanderbilt is the one team I'd want to play. I just think they're one of the most beatable team out of those all those teams besides LSU. So it's not the worst path. And then Tennessee, Texas did play them close at the Moody Center. So we'll see. We'll see how far Texas goes. I said it in the last podcast. I'll say, I remind you watching right now, Rodney Terry is a March coach. We've seen this the past
Yeah,
2 years. We'll see what happens. The Texas game to a point against Oklahoma was a bit of just misfortune. I want to say Texas, Kendall Weaver came back. Trey Johnson went 0 for 14, which is really, really, really unconventional of him. And we've been saying it all year, Jason. This team is really good on paper, but every game there's one or two people that you need to play well that just don't. Unfortunately, in the biggest game that mattered this season, it was the best player that didn't make the difference. And it sucked because we saw Jordan Pope come back, Arthur Bloom was playing well, Kendall Weaver was back on
played
the
great.
court. There's a lot of things to be excited about, and it's just
Played
it's
great.
been a very unfortunate year, and I'm starting to. I mean, is this the last game? Is this the last game on Wednesday that we see Ronnie Terry coach? Like that's a little heartbreaking.
It is, but you brought up a good point that Texas hasn't put it all together yet this year. Every game, there's been someone or two guys or three guys who haven't showed up, and that does give me some hope that they could put things all together and string some wins together and make the NCAA tournament. They're not going to win the SEC tournament. That's not possible this year. But if they win two, even three games in a row, like right now, the blueprint needs to be beat Vanderbilt, beat A&M, play Tennessee close. And if Texas is able to do that, they'll probably hear their name called on Selection Sunday. It's a tall task, but it's doable. I don't want to say they almost beat Vanderbilt because they ended up getting somewhat blown out. But Vanderbilt's a team that Texas matches up well with. Like the game plan there should be the exact same game plan that it was against Mississippi State. Attack the bigs, that you have the advantage in the front court. I think Vanderbilt's front court kind of stinks. So I think that if Texas, Arthur Kluma, you hope he's healthy, Caden Shedrick, whew, let's see, one more chance to right the wrongs that he has committed in the Texas uniform this year. All love to Caden, but it's been a rough super senior season. So hopefully he's able to do something because they have the size advantage. And Vanderbilt's got these little guards who can be pesky, they can be annoying, but Texas has the size and really they have the positional versatility with Kendall Weaver being back to shut down Vanderbilt's scoring. They have the natural advantage in the front court. I feel good about that game tonight. I feel good about that game for Texas against Vanderbilt. That one I feel good about. It's the other two potentially that I'm worried about. Texas A&M, Texas has already beaten them this year, but I'd say Texas peaked around that time when they came back and beat A&M. Like, is it ever going to get better than that this year? I mean, I guess we'll find out this week. Um, Texas A&M hasn't necessarily been playing their best basketball, but I mean, they did just beat Auburn last week.
I feel like we are like every year the bubble always kind of slides down because of the bid stealers. And we haven't really seen it. Like Texas has been lucky. Like all the teams, like the mid majors have been playing well. Like Drake won, so we're not getting like a Belmont steal or anything like that. I wonder what's going to happen in the A10. Is Dayton going to steal a bid? But it's just about I was thinking about this earlier. Like every year the bubble slides down a bit, Jason. So if Texas is on the last four in spot or in the last they're kind of bordering the next four out, last four out area right now. Um, is there a world where Texas beats Vandy, beats A&M, plays Tennessee close, and still doesn't get in? Like I don't know,
Yeah.
but the bubble slides this week. Everyone's going to be pushed down at least half a seed. So I I wonder where we're going to be, but it's just very scary. This is a very scary time in my life, Jason. I don't sleep well at night, and I don't know what's going to happen tonight, tomorrow. It's a big couple days for me. I'm going to Europe and I'm not going to be able to think about it because there's a lot going on, but this Vandy game is winnable. I'm telling you, A&M is winnable. They are not playing phenomenal right now. Yes, they beat Auburn. Great. Auburn's not playing well right now. I don't think Auburn win. I think Auburn might be a first round exit of the SEC tournament as far as I'm concerned right
Mm.
now. I think Florida wins that one entirely. But that's just my opinion. I don't think Auburn's playing great basketball. That's why I think but I just don't want to. I think A&M is very beatable. And then I think Tennessee being a four seed, you get the best of four options between Auburn, Florida, and Alabama. So it's just maybe I don't know. I think Texas has to beat Tennessee if they want to go into Selection Sunday being okay. Who are we playing? Not are we
Well, like
playing?
if they win those three games, they're in. Like if they beat Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, and Tennessee, three tournament teams in 3 days, they're going to make the NCAA tournament. It's just not likely that that's what ends up happening. And for Texas to make the tournament after winning two games here in Nashville, it's going to take some help from these other conferences. You know, you can't have a bid stealer from, say, the Mountain West. You can't have a bid stealer from like the two biggest bid stealer threat conferences right now are the A10 and the American. It's like this every year now. I mean, A10, if VCU doesn't win and they don't make the championship, then A10 is probably one bid league.
What about the ACC? I mean, I feel like the ACC steals a bit every year. NC State last year, like
NC
who knows
State,
what
yeah.
happens this
Virginia
week?
Tech a couple of
Yeah,
years ago, Texas
yeah.
got them in the first round. Yeah.
Syracuse when they went to the Final Four.
No, you've
Yeah.
got a great point there. So Texas is going to, I mean, that's their fate is in their hands right now. Until that final buzzer sounds and the opposing team has more points than you do, you know, you have a chance to determine your destiny in March. Texas just hasn't shown anything these last couple of weeks to make us feel good that that destiny is going to be a positive one. um, but as you know, as for that Vanderbilt game, I kind of like Trey Johnson coming off the worst game of his career. Honestly, like I think he's a competitive guy. He loves the game of basketball. He hates losing. I don't think you said that you haven't slept well. I would venture to say Trey Johnson hasn't slept well the last couple of weeks. And I think he's going to come out firing today against Vanderbilt. I have high expectations for him because any game that he plays this week, he knows could be his last game in college. Texas is going to turn down an NIT invite. They're going to turn down a college basketball crown, whatever it is. They're going to turn that invite down. He doesn't want his college career to end. He loves being a Longhorn, as far as we know. So I expect big things from him against Vanderbilt and the bench. That's how they beat Mississippi State. They had what 30 bench points. I had to like rub my eyes 100 times, like reading that box score. It's like what 30 bench points? The bench has to step up, especially with Kendall Weaver being back. Jason Kent, you know, the defense isn't ever going to come around in a Longhorn uniform, I don't think. But offensively, he looks more comfortable. He's hitting threes, which gives Texas like a Dylan Dessou like weapon. Not 26 and 12 like Dylan Dessou was at this point of the year, but like a big that can also shoot threes. A modern big, Jason Kent. I'm expecting some big things from him. And finally, Julian Larry doing some of the little things. Oof. I hope the season doesn't end today. I hope the season doesn't end today because Vanderbilt's got the advantage in terms of it being in their backyard. And it's not like a fan thing, right? Like it's more of a comfort thing. Like they may not even be staying. They're probably staying in a hotel, but probably the same hotel that they stay in for every home. They're probably doing shoot around at their home gym. It's a comfort thing. So that puts Texas at a disadvantage. And they're at a coaching disadvantage. I think Mark Byington is a better coach than Rodney Terry is, especially recently. So Texas has their backs against the wall. What they do have is a more talented roster. They have the best player on the court, and we'll see how far that can take them. We'll see how far that can take them. They also have the most March experience on their roster, and a bunch of seniors who probably don't want their careers to end without playing in the big dance.
It was weird watching the senior night traditions, like
How was that?
um it was just there's a lot of people on here. There's like a lot of people coming out where it's like, all right, they have 1 year, they get to I don't know. It's some of these guys have had multiple senior nights. Just a very weird world we live in. But yeah, I mean Texas, you said it earlier, they're much taller. I mean, the guard combo of AJ Hoggard and Tyler Tanner, 6 foot and 6'4". So size is going to be a big thing. At the same time, hard to
Yeah,
rely
but
on.
Jason Edwards is like 5'9". I mean, he's their lead guard.
Yeah, Ken Palm's got him at 6'1", I think, but
No way.
no
No
chance.
way. He's
Yeah,
like Marcus Carr size.
yeah, yeah. So it'll be interesting. I mean, the beauty of it is that Texas has nothing to lose. So there's no pressure. It's just go have fun, ball out. It's really this game. I mean, there's going to be pressure for A&M, but for Vanderbilt, it's really just go and play basketball, which I think really favors Texas. Vanderbilt, kind of isn't a must. There's a beauty with being on the bubble versus being off the bubble. As far as an off the bubble team, they just have less. They have less to lose. So Vandy, that might be a factor too. Vandy's
Mm.
like, if they lose, they might be out. Like Texas isn't thinking that they're out right now. Vandy's a last four in team, so
And
it's a
we've seen this with some of the Texas teams of late. If they're not on the bubble and they're not contending for a 2 or 3 seed, they kind of roll over and die if they know that they're going to be in the tournament anyway. So I agree. I'm hoping that Vanderbilt has the same idea.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. I think I'm gonna give out a score prediction of 78-77 Texas. I think they win by
Ooh. So the good thing with that prediction is you were the only one of us, of the three of us, to predict Texas beating Mississippi State, which was great because me and Tommy were sitting here like on our thrones acting like Texas had no chance, and you were like, actually, they're going to win tonight. So I'm glad that you're predicting a win. I weirdly feel good about this game. I just think Trey Johnson's going to explode. I think he's gonna put up 35, and I think if that's his last hurrah, and so be it. It's been a pleasure watching him this year. He's been Texas's most talented player since Kevin Durant. He's going to go on to do huge things in the NBA. It's really been fun watching him play, and it feels like a disservice the way this season has went to him because if had this roster been constructed correctly, had Texas finished the regular season strong, they'd be in a much different situation, and one of the best young stars in the sport will get to play in March Madness. So they're going to have to fight for it. They're going to fight hard. I think they're going to win by 2 scores against Vanderbilt and against Texas A&M. Man, it's such an interesting spot because it's season on the line, Rodney Terry's job likely on the line, your pride on the line against a rival. It feels like Texas A&M's year, though. I feel like Texas is going to go 2-0 in Nashville, unfortunately, but I think they're going to fight hard, and I think that's going to be the most annoying thing about this week. Is I think that there are going to be so many moments over these next few days where we're like, where was this the last 2 months? Oh my gosh, if this team makes March Madness, they're going to be dangerous. Oh my gosh, 9-0 scoring run in 1 minute against Texas A&M. Where was this, the last couple of weeks? I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think that they dug themselves too deep of a hole these last couple of weeks, and I think that they're going to come out on the wrong side of the bubble after this week in Nashville.
it'll be close. A&M's lost the last four of six, including one to Vanderbilt.
You're
So
sputtering.
so yeah, they beat Auburn, closed out against LSU, but yeah, I mean, I think A&M probably does edge it out in Texas season only because of the minutes continuity and Wade Taylor. Just the combination of that combination, the fact that they've been at A&M for so long, like this is their year, kind of. I mean, it's hard to see A&M not get one win, but if it were to happen to anyone, why not Big Brother?
It would be really fantastic to see Texas knock off A&M in the biggest spot of the year. And like, even if, and we know it won't guarantee them a spot in the tournament, like, even if these bid stealing spots go Texas's way, like, we know 2 wins probably isn't enough. It's got to be 2 wins plus. 2 wins plus some help. 2 wins plus you got to look good against Tennessee. Like, and by look good against Tennessee, like as good as they looked last year in the round of 32 against Tennessee, like ball in your hands, less than a minute left, chance to win. That's how good they have to look against Tennessee to make the NCAA tournament. But even if that doesn't end up happening, like if they beat Texas A&M tomorrow, after obviously if they have to beat Vanderbilt first, but hypothetically, if they beat Texas A&M tomorrow, it would be cool to see Rodney Terry get that moment. It would be really cool to see him get that moment of triumph over their biggest rival, knock out Texas A&M from the SEC tournament, have them sputter a little further into March Madness, and just give Texas hope for another day. That's what March is all about. You have hope each day. Each team gets a new life when they make it to their conference tournament, and then when they make it to the NCAA tournament. And right now, Texas is only guaranteed one, so we'll see what they do with it today. Any parting thoughts?
Hopefully we get a good podcast next talking future games.
Oh, yeah. Please,
But we'll see. Yeah,
please.
that's all I'm gonna ask for. We'll see how dumb I look in a week, though. Less than a week, next time we record.
Well, let's hope that we end up doing another podcast this week. You'll be in Europe, but hopefully me and Tommy, or even if you have the time for it, we'll figure it out. This is the best time of the year. Thank you for joining me, Zach. Congratulations again on an awesome week in Greenville. Thank you for representing Texas student media so well. It means the world to me as an alum. I know Tommy would echo the same sentiments if he were here. But that's it for today's episode. Let's hope that we have another this week. Let's hope this isn't the only time we talk this week. For the Field of 68 for BetMGM, this has been the Hook'em Hoops Pod.